but I don't want to go.
It's the Passover, Sutter. Our whole family's gonna be there. We have to go.
Yeah, but I had a really big dinner at Rosemary's. Plus, Aaron and I, we're going to be the only kids there, and everyone's going to annoy us by saying how much we've grown, even though they saw us only a month ago.
The Passover Seder isn't about eating. It's about remembering.
Yeah, but all Jewish holidays are about remembering. I'm tired of remembering.
Tired or not, you're coming with us, young lady. Grandpa Will and Grandma Belle are expecting the whole family to be there, including you. Grandpa Will and Grandma Belle have lost so much in this war.
I know.
Hannah, since you're so generous with your wine, why don't you go open the door for Elijah?
Okay, Aunt.
Yeah, Hannah, go.
Grandpa, what did you do?
Is he coming?
Who? Elijah?
And do you think that the prophet walks in every single time you open a door? There's a fool in every house. Is Shmuel coming or not, Chaya?
Chaya?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think he's coming.
Setting. The setting of the Devil's Arithmetic mostly took place in 1942 in Poland. It was stated that it was 1942 when Hannah or Chaya asked a man about what year it was. 1942. It is several days before Passover, the bad chant said. In this line, it is clearly stated that it was 1942. Also, it was stated later in the book that all of these events took place in Poland. For example, Reb Boruch shook his head. There are not 6 million Jews in all of Poland, my child. From this line, we can infer that the Jews getting kidnapped and everything took place in Poland. As you can see, the book's setting was mostly in Poland in 1942. Genre. The genre of the Devil's Arithmetic was historical. This was proved numerous times in this book. For example, the wagon made a wide turn around the bend in the path, the horses straining mightily. This line from the book tells us how they used wagons and horses, which were only used in the past, during historical times. In addition to that, in the book, it also says, Rabbi Boruch, Shmuel, and another man Hannah did not know conferred hastily with the Nazi chief, the one with all the medals. This line portrays how there were men conversing with the Nazi chief, which was surely in the historical times, and there is certainly no Nazi chief today. Obviously, the genre of this novel was historical.
Is this some sort of dream?
Oh, Shaya. You didn't sleep either, did you? Did you have another scary dream? Should I be afraid of getting married?
I mean, a little. I'm afraid of shots.
Shots?
You know, needles.
You were sick, I understand.
And my mother is afraid of snakes.
There are no snakes in Lublin, Shaya.
But I don't live in Lublin. I live in New Rochelle. And my name's not Shaya, it's Hannah. But Shaya's my Hebrew name. And that's only because I'm Ava's friend. And
Lublin is a big place, I'm sure, but I'm not familiar with every avenue and street.
But New Rochelle's not a street, it's a city.
Since when is a street a city?
New Rochelle's a city in New York.
New?
In America.
Just like Krakow is in Siberia. Of course, Lublin is in America, Krakow is in Siberia. What now?
Internal conflict. There were multiple instances of internal conflict in the Devil's Arithmetic. One example is when Hannah is transported back to 1942. Hannah is initially confused and doesn't know what's going on. Of course, the woman knew. She was part of this crazy game, this crazy dream. But even as she thought that, Hannah felt a panic pressure in her chest. Where was she? And where were her parents, and Aaron, and Aunt Ava, and the others? She doesn't know anything about her surroundings and the strange people, and doesn't understand why she's being called Chaya, creating conflicts within herself about who she really is, and if her whole life is a dream. Next, Hannah becomes frustrated when she tells the woman that they might be killed. They ignore her. Hannah was furious. They had to listen. She would make them. What use was her special foreknowledge if no one would listen? Maybe they thought her strange, or sick, or even crazy, but she was none of that. She knew she could help them all if only they would let her. Hannah's experiences conflict when Giddle later tells her to let them still have hope, creating an internal debate until Hannah decides to stop trying to warn them. Lastly, when Hannah gets her hair shaved, she realizes that she cannot remember anything. But as the scissors snip-snapped through her hair and the razor shaved the rest, she realized with a sudden awful panic that she could no longer recall anything from the past. She'd been shorn of the memory as brutally as she'd been shorn of her hair, without permission, without reason. This example of internal conflict shows Hannah's pain and anxiety at the moment she realizes she cannot remember anything, creating mental anguish.
Hey, look at those trucks.
Wait, what year is it?
It's 1942, several days before the Passover, of course.
They're not wedding guests. They're Nazis. Nazis. Do you understand? They're going to kill hundreds, thousands of Jews. 6 million.
Chaya, calm down. There's not even 6 million Jews in all of Europe.
Yeah, Chaya, you're sick. You're ready for resettlement.
Where?
Wherever we want to take you. Now get up! Come on, I said get up!
Get out!
But there's so many people dead.
Leave them. Get out.
But so many, there's 5 women, there's 1 child. No, we can't just leave them. Welcome to the camp. I'm the Glokava, and you will do as I say. First step for all of you is to get tattoos. The tattoos will be names, which will be your names, which are numbers. You will no longer use your original names anymore. Next, you all are going to be getting your hair shaved off. Understood?
No, it can't be.
Foolish girl, you don't say no. Not here. Oh, I like these. They outmatch with my outfit. Well, I'll just take them.
External conflict. There were numerous happenings of external conflict that took place in the Devil's Arithmetic. To begin, the whole plot of this story is how the Nazis mistreated the Jews. They stood raggedly, and the soldiers herded them toward the 2 stationary boxcars. They went silently, almost willingly, eager to be as far from the officer and the soldiers' guns as they could. The Nazis began with kidnapping all the Jews and keeping them starving for days without food or water. Throughout 2 whole days, about 20 Jews received nothing but a minuscule glass of water to share amongst themselves, and the water was extremely dirty. This not only starved the Jews, but made them ill as well. A bucket of filthy trill water was passed around, and everyone grabbed for it eagerly. Hannah managed to get a mouthful before it was taken from her. There was hay in that mouthful, but she didn't care. She never tasted anything so sweet. The Nazis starved the Jews so much that Jews even considered dirty hay water to be sweet. It contributed to a little child, perhaps only about 10 years of age, to die. In addition to this maximal mistreatment, the Nazis dragged the Jews to a jail, where the Jews had to work 24/7. Over there, the Nazis had extremely unfair rules. These expectant rules frightened the Jews more than what they were already facing, and if you didn't follow these rules, you had to go die in a fire, a crematorium. They called these the gate of the crematorium Lilith's Cave. Hannah, also known as Chaya, had to enter Lilith's Cave with her friends in the ending of the book. Then all 3 of them took ragged, deep breaths and walked in through the door into the endless night. The quote tells us how the girls were nervous, yet they were forced to die as a result of not following biased rules that were impaled upon the poor Jews. All in all, there were uncountable events of external conflict that occurred in this novel.
Tell me your name and I will give you a number in exchange.
Chaya.
Chaya, that was
my daughter's name?
You must never forget your loved ones or else life has no meaning. Live and remember. Done. Next. We have children in here who haven't eaten for days.
The children will learn to deal with it.
Just as the farmer taught his horse to eat less and less until one day it just dropped and died. Have you ever heard that story?
I have nothing important to hear from Jews. I have something important to tell them. You see the smoke up there coming from the buildings? That's Jew smoke. Eat when you are given it, or you will go up in the smokestacks as well. This is your bowl, your only one. You'll need to identify it by all its dents and every tiny unique thing about it. I call this bowl the every bowl. You use it for everything. There are no replacements. If you need to find me, ask for Rivka, not some silly number.
Character traits and motivation. Rivka, Aunt Ava. In this novel, Rivka is shown to be selfless and resourceful. Rivka shows her selflessness many times throughout the book. For example, when Hannah first meets Rivka in the food line, she tells her, "If you need me tonight after supper, I will tell you the rest. And if you cannot find me, ask anyone for Rivka." Rivka. In this life and death situation in the concentration camps, not many would be willing to help anyone other than themselves or their close friends and family. However, Rivka is a total stranger to Hannah when they first meet, yet Rivka still offers to show her around and teach her how to survive there. Somehow, Rivka helps Hannah survive even though she herself is barely making it, proving how selfless she is. Next, Rivka's resourcefulness is illustrated numerous times throughout the novel. An example of this is the following line. Esther started to run away, but Rivka caught her arm. "Listen to me, please. You must listen if you wish to stay alive. I know the things you need to know in this place. There is the Malach HaMavis, the angel of death, hovering overhead, but we can fool him if we know the rules." Here she shows how much she knows about surviving in the camps as she shares her knowledge with Hannah and her friends. It is obvious that Rivka is a highly intelligent person who can easily find the tools to survive, even from nothing, showing how resourceful she is. Finally, Rivka is motivated by her urge to survive the war. Near the end, this line supports this idea even more. "No," Rivka cried. "We were working. We were." She held up the empty bucket. This line, combined with all the instances Rivka shows her extensive knowledge of her survival, shows how motivated she is to make it out alive. When they are caught not working, Rivka is the first to protest, never giving up on her dream of surviving and escaping the concentration camps. This dream was later fulfilled when she immigrated to America, leaving her old life and name behind and becoming Hannah's Aunt Ava. All in all, Rivka was a selfless and resourceful character who was motivated by wanting to survive.
You must listen to me if you want to live.
Why should I listen to you? What makes you an authority?
This is my authority. I've been here longer than the rest of you. See? J, because I'm a Jew like you. 1, because I'm all alone. 8, because there were 8 people in my family in the village. 2, because that's all there's left now. Me and my brother Wolf, who believes himself to be a zero. But I love him no matter what they make him do. And when we're done and over with all this, I hope we can be 2 again. God will allow it. What's your name?
Chaya. J97241. J because I'm a Jew. 1 because I'm alone. And 9 because, well, that's the German word for no. So, no, I will not die here. 7 because 7 is every day of the week that I'm still alive. And 2 is for Gittel and Shmuel, who are here with me too. 4 for the people in my family. Thanks. And 1 because I'm all alone here in this
Character traits and motivation. Hannah or Chaya. Throughout this story, Hannah can be depicted as a stubborn and compassionate person. Firstly, Hannah was clearly illustrated as a stubborn figure. For instance, "Do not touch her," Giddle said. But Hannah's hand hovered over the child's cheek and the fly that would not leave. "I said, do not touch her." Giddle's voice was strangely hoarse. She still reached toward the fly, unbelieving, and Giddle grabbed her hand, spinning her around. In these few lines, it is shown how Hannah attempts to swat a fly that landed on the child's face. Although Giddle warns Hannah not to touch the child's face, Hannah continues to do so, resulting in Hannah being slapped. This shows how Hannah was very stubborn and didn't listen to Giddle no matter how much she warned Hannah. Hannah wanted to swat the fly away from the child's face because it was most likely annoying the child, and it was certainly annoying Hannah. Hannah continues to swat the fly, causing Giddle to punish Hannah. Hannah's motivation behind this is that she was stubborn throughout the book due to her extent of knowledge from what happened to the Jews. She really wanted to prevent it, yet no one ever listened to her. People always thought of her as an ill or psychotic person. Sadly, Hannah was the only person who actually knew that she was neither of those. She continues to be stubborn throughout the novel because of this. As you can see, Hannah, or Chaya, is proven to be stubborn. In addition, Hannah can also be a very compassionate character. There are many significant instances that illustrated this aspect of Hannah. For example, suddenly, Hannah noticed that one of the camp babies was still cradled in a washtub. Without stopping to ask, she grabbed it up and ran with the child into the middle of the midden. Garbage slipped along her bare legs. This line tells us how, without stopping, Hannah instantaneously jumps up and rescues the baby, thinking only about the baby's life. She didn't care that she didn't need to hide. The only fact that mattered to her was that the baby was in danger from the commandant. Hannah saves the life of an innocent child by risking her own. Hannah is motivated to do this because she already knows what happened to the Jews. She attempts to save as many lives as possible since she's aware of the consequences. Hannah feels pity for the Jews since now she has the first-hand experience. Due to all of this, Hannah feels pity and compassion for the Jews. Obviously, Hannah is a compassionate figure with her own reasons behind it.
The command is coming! All the kids go to the mud pile!
Wait, is no one gonna get the baby?
You can't help the child by starving yourself. But I'm sure he's getting a lot of help. He looks skinnier and sadder every day. But you're still growing, Chaya. You need your food. I'll take care of him. You go finish your food.
Character traits and motivation. Giddle. In the novel, The Devil's Arithmetic, Giddle is a very interesting character. Firstly, she's very caring. On page 126, when Chaya tries to give a kid her food, Giddle says, "But you are still a growing child, Chaya. You must take care of you." While later, Giddle gives her own food to the kid. Giddle made sure that both the child and Chaya properly ate their food while risking her own life. Another character trait of Giddle's is bravery. On page 148, when their plan fails and the Blokova almost catches them, it states, "Giddle called, her voice incredibly calm." She was extremely brave to face the Blokova without freaking out and becoming nervous. Lastly, Giddle is positive throughout the whole book. On page 132, it states, "The woman began to giggle." Giddle always tries to lighten the mood and tell everyone that it would be all right, so everyone in the camp can forget their worries. Even in a place like that, Giddle managed to make others happy. All these traits motivated her to be a good leader for everyone. She is always the one to take charge and tell everyone what is happening. On page 138, Giddle tells everyone, "It is what he knows how to do, and he is strong. With him are Yitzhak, the butcher, and Gedaliah, and Natan Borodny, and their cousin Nemuel. Zach, the cobbler, is doing what he always done, make shoes and belts." As she was saying the bad news, Giddle never started crying. Leaders like Giddle have to stay strong no matter the circumstances they're in. In conclusion, Gittel was a strong leader for everyone at the camp because of her bravery, caring nature, and positivity.
Oh, go, run, hide! Well, are you hurt, child? Where's your mom?
Please, sir, his mother died.
And who are you, his sister?
No, sir.
Well, this child should be with his mother. I'm gonna take him there.
Tone. The tone of the Devil's Arithmetic throughout the novel is emotional. The book is very emotional because most of the book is located in the camp. The camp is where the Nazis forced the Jewish prisoners to do work and only work. In the book, on page 133, when Phage found out about her father's death, it stated, Phage opened her mouth to scream. The woman in the green dress clapped her hand over Phage's mouth, stifling the scream, pulling her onto the sandy floor. 3 other women wrapped their arms around her as well, rocking back and forth with her silent sobs. The prisoners received limited amount of food, which lacked the proper nutrition for a person, or were to sometimes starve. This caused many Jews to die because of the absence of food, water, and energy. Other times, the head person would come to the camp and choose many people to kill brutally. So the tone of the novel, The Devil's Arithmetic, is emotional.
Shah, wake up. It's time for homework. The plan is ruined. Hurry. Go back before the lights turn on.
Stop! Where do you think you're going?
I went outside with my bow to relieve myself, and the shot started, and I was so scared, so I dropped it and I ran.
You stupid Jews, you could never do anything quietly or efficiently. This is why all Germans are going to get rid of you. If you have to relieve yourself, then do it in your bed or do it the next day. Understood? Or else you have to deal with me.
Plot, conflict, climax, and resolution. This book's conflict begins with Hannah attending a religious Jewish dinner. In the dinner, Hannah is magically transported to 1942. Outside, where there should have been a long windowless hall with dark green numbered doors leading to other apartments, there was a greening field and a lowering sky. The moon hung rightly between 2 heavy gray clouds. As Chaya entered the earlier time, all of the Jews were captured and taken by the Nazis. As the Jews were taken by the Nazis, thousands of Jews died brutally in Lilith's cave. Lilith's cave was a gas chamber where Jews were gassed, then burned. The Nazis called the smoke rising from the crematorium Jew smoke because it was the smoke coming from the Jews' corpses. All of this led to the climax. In the climax, Gittel attempts to exhibit an escape plan but fails. They nearly do escape, but it was all ruined at the last minute when they are found out. Thus, the Jews keep living in hopelessness. One day, when Hannah and Rivka were working together, a guard takes Rivka and several others to take them into their debts. However, Hannah pulls Rivka behind and replaces herself as Rivka. Then, all 3 of them took deep, ragged breaths and walked in through the door into the endless night. 3 girls were forced to enter a gas chamber to put an end to their short, miserable lives. As Hannah enters the building, she is transported back to present day. The resolution takes place after Hannah is transported back to the present day. As Hannah is transported back to present day, Aunt Ava fills her in on what happens after Chaya, or now known as Hannah, dies in the past. Aunt Ava told Hannah the end of the story. Apparently, Aunt Ava was Rivka, and what happened was that Gittel began a rescue mission. It later became an adoption center named after her niece, Chaya.
Do you want to hear a story?
Sure.
Well, it's about now and the future.
Okay, go on.
Now, 6 million Jews will die. Die. There, I've said it. Does it make it any real or any less?
6 million Jews? There are not 6 million Jews in the whole world.
There are. And in the future, there will be more than 6 million Jews. and there will be Israel with a Jewish Senate and a Jewish president, and in America there will be Jewish actors.
I don't believe you. I'm pretty sure memory doesn't work that way. Are you sure it wasn't a dream?
It wasn't a dream. It's like I have 3 memories. One with me and Shmuel and Gittel, and then there's one with me and Lugan. But that isn't really a memory because I was never there. And then there's the future, and it's as if it becomes even more clear as time goes on, and I try to remember more.
You are not working. What are you doing? I have been taught that the ones who do not work go up the stacks.
No, we were working.
I was told that we need one more Jew to make up a full load. Commandant Brewer believes in efficiency, and our units do not work well with short loads. So I was sent to find one of the commandant's pets who were not working. He told me personally to go make up the load.
But we are healthy workers. You cannot take us.
Actually, I can. You, with the babushka, like a little old lady. Come with me.
Who will remember you now?
Go. Run. Run to the kitchen. Run to the midden. Run to the barracks. And run for your life. Run for your future. And always remember.
Well, Hannah, is Elijah coming?
No, I don't think so.
Well, then come and sit down. Don't rush your child. Come, Hannah, sit next to me. You're staring.
Staring?
I remember before you were scared whenever I talked about this, but let me explain it to you.
No. Let me explain. J is because you were a Jew, and 1 because you were all alone. 8 because there were 8 people in your family, your village. And 2 because there was only 2 of you left, you and your brother.
His name was Wolf. And it's ironic because he was as gentle as a lamb.
And 0 because Wolf thought of himself to be a 0. And 2 because you always hoped that you 2 would be one for him.
Yeah, my name back then was Rivka.
I remember. Critical review. Positive. There were many positive aspects throughout The Devil's Arithmetic. To begin, the story was very educational. It describes the lifestyle of the Jews when they were taken by the Nazis. His shirt was full-sleeved, and the loose-fitting trousers were pushed into the tops of high Lear boots. The author described the clothing style, the living style, the way you acted back then, etc. This explains the life of Jews very well, and it also makes the book extremely fun to read since they made it in a dramatic manner. This entertains and also engages the reader continuously throughout the novel. Also, this book was very short. Although this may seem as a downfall, this makes the book fantastic because people that don't really have the patience to read a big book can read The Devil's Arithmetic without a sweat. In a very short amount of pages, the book covered a lot of content, keeping the reader content with the amount of pages they read and also what it was that they read. In addition, this book ends on a happy and loving note, which leaves the reader happy and satisfied with the ending, unlike some other books. She called it after her young niece, who had died a hero in the camps, Chaya, life. This ending gives the reader a vast amount of joy and hope, keeping the reader satisfied. This ending also ends on an incomplete thought, leaving the reader to imagine the rest. Although the ending was slightly incomplete, it still was an extremely optimistic ending, showing the victory of the Jews in the end. Nextly, despite all of the trouble that Hannah goes through, the author illustrates the Jews' troubles very clearly. In fact, it is explained so clearly that you continue to read despite all of the horrible events that take place, desperate for a happy ending. Besides, her head hurt when she banged it, and her back ached from lying on the hard shelf. Even her leg hurt. She drew her knee up to look. There was caked blood and a big scab along her shin. This line clearly depicts how the book was very descriptive. It contains an extreme amount of imagery, and while reading this book, the reader literally has a movie playing in their mind. To sum it up, this book was an easy and quite an enjoyable read. Critical review. Negative. Although The Devil's Arithmetic is a very interesting book, there are many places where it could have been better. Sometimes the book was very confusing. On page 94, it states, "But as the scissors snip-snapped through her hair and the razor shaved the rest, she realized with a sudden awful panic that she could no longer recall anything from the past. I cannot remember," she whispered to herself. "I cannot remember." She'd been shorn of memory as brutally as she'd been shorn of her hair. Chaya seems to be forgetting that she's actually Hannah and is from the future, but the author never really explained why Chaya is disremembering all her memories as Hannah. Also, sometimes the novel can get monotonous. On page 7, it states, escaping Aunt Rose's attentions by going to the bathroom, Hannah looked at herself in the mirror. There was a lipstick stain where Aunt Ava had kissed her on the forehead. She ran some water and tried to scrub it off, feeling guilty because Aunt Ava was her favorite aunt, the only one who preferred her over Erin. Although the plot and story is exciting, the beginning is uneventful. Also, there are multiple instances in the book where it was extremely violent. On page 153, he bent down and kissed the top of her head as the guns roared, a loud volley that drowned out birdsong and winds and screams. When it was silent at last, the commandant threw the shoes on top of Phaedra's body. The gruesome violence may make the plot more interesting, but it is still too much in some areas of the novel.
What the? Stop. Sophia, seriously?
Okay, we're done.